What if the weakness you feel was never truly yours? What if it was just a mask the world made you wear, soft and silent, so you wouldn't rise? You were taught to be kind, to explain yourself, to wait your turn, but deep down, you knew something didn't feel right. You felt it when people spoke over you, when they smiled with dead eyes, when they used your empathy like a leash. And the worst part, you kept giving because you thought that was strength. Let me break something to you, something raw, something real. You are not weak, that you've just been conditioned to act like prey in a world built by predators. Manipulation isn't just a trick. It's a language, and you were never taught how to speak it. Because the moment you do, you stop being controlled. But here's the truth no one dared tell you. They don't manipulate the strongest. They manipulate the soft-hearted, the unaware, those who live from emotion, but don't yet rule it. That's where we begin. Because if you don't master your mind, someone else will. If you don't forge your emotions, they will be used against you. Your heart is pure, but purity without power is just vulnerability. So listen closely. This isn't a video. This is your initiation. A deep return to your own throne. And it starts with two forgotten truths. First is mental alchemy. Your emotions are not enemies. They are molten metal, raw, hot, volatile. Yes, they burn. But in your hands, they can become armored. You've been taught to fear your anger, your sadness, your jealousy. But emotion is energy. And energy is neutral until you wield it. Breathe deep. Can you feel that flicker in your chest right now? That's your power waking up. Mental alchemy means you don't run from emotion. You refine it. You transmute it. Pain becomes purpose. Sadness becomes signal. Anger becomes sword. This is not suppression. It's transformation. But transformation is not painless. It demands you sit with your shadows, not silence them. To walk into your inner forge and hold the fire with steady hands. That is the difference between a slave and a sovereign. Now the second truth is inner discipline. It's not flashy. It's not loud, but it is absolute. Because all freedom begins with control, not of the world, not of others. Of yourself. You think the manipulators hold power? No, they feed on your chaos. They sniff out the cracks in your self-image, the tremble in your voice, the flicker of doubt in your eyes. But when your emotions are disciplined, when your silence is chosen, when your heart doesn't chase approval, then you become unreadable, untouchable, like a mountain in the storm. And suddenly, those who once played you fumble. They don't know where to push, where to dig, where to insert their little hooks of guilt and charm and pressure, because your mind becomes a locked gate, and your spirit, a blade they cannot touch. But this path is not easy. It requires more than watching. It requires war, not outward, inward. A daily battle with your old patterns, your need to please, your fear of being alone. And I won't lie to you, it will hurt, because you're not just changing habits. You're burning down illusions. You're killing off the version of you that was easy to use. And in its ashes, something unshakable begins to rise. You start to move differently. Speak with, wait, look people in the eye, not to seek approval, but to see who dares meet your fire. People will notice. They won't say it, but they will feel it. Some will try to test you. Others will vanish because they only knew how to dance with your old self. And that's fine. That's necessary, because the path to power is lined with silence and subtraction. You subtract the noise, the lies, the fake smiles, the need to be liked, and what remains is clean, focused, sharp. Now I want you to hear this, not just with your ears, but with your gut. If you do not take back control of your mind, you will always dance to someone else's tune. They'll use your compassion against you, your silence as permission, your kindness as currency, but not anymore. This transformation won't wait for your permission. It begins the moment you're done being broken. It begins now. So sit in the silence. Feel the heat rise in your chest, not to explode outward, but to build pressure inward. Like a diamond forming under earth, the world doesn't need another people-pleaser. It needs warriors with soft hearts and unshakable minds. And you're ready to become one. There is a place inside you that no one sees. It doesn't show up on your resume. It doesn't post on social media. It doesn't ask for applause. It's the place where your rage sleeps, where your sorrow sings, where your truth hides, raw, unfiltered, wild. Carl Jung called it the shadow, not because it's evil, but because it's buried, hidden behind shame, locked beneath what you were told was acceptable. The parts of you that didn't fit, so you exiled them. But let me tell you a secret. What you repress owns you. What you suppress controls you. What you refuse to look at silently shapes your life. You want strength. Face your own darkness, not to worship it, not to glorify pain, but to reclaim it.to transmute it.to forge from it. That's emotional alchemy. You see, the pain didn't break you. It prepared you. It carved space in you for depth, for wisdom, for fire, but only if you stop running. Most people never make it past this stage. They touch the edge of their shadow and recoil. Too intense, too messy, too much. But you were built for this. You were forged to hold the fire. Breathe. Don't resist the chaos. Don't label the feeling. Just observe. Let it rise. Let it burn. Let it speak. And then, let it teach. That shame you carry. It's a broken compass. It never belonged to you. It was handed to you by someone who hadn't mastered themselves. Let it go. You don't owe your past an explanation. You owe your future a transformation. But there's an ancient warrior story I want you to remember. A Ronin, a masterless samurai, disgraced and discarded after war, he wandered alone, haunted by the screams of battles lost. One night, standing on the edge of a cliff, broken and cold, he screamed at the sky. No gods answered, but something inside him did. That he didn't jump. Instead, he sat in silence. For hours, days, until the screaming in his head dulled into a whisper, and that whisper became a spark. A whisper that said, "You are not done yet." He built no empire. He sought no vengeance, but he mastered the only kingdom that matters, his inner world. And in doing so, he became legend. You think your rock bottom is your end. It's not. It's a passage. Down there, in the mud, in the silence, in the wreckage, that's where you find the parts of you that were never loved properly. And you love them now. Not by giving in, not by indulging weakness, but by standing with them. Strong, silent, unshaken. This is how you rewrite your emotional code. Visualization, breathwork, mental rituals. Each time you feel rage rise, pause, breathe. Visualize it as red smoke. Exhale and watch it dissolve into gold. Each time anxiety grips your chest, feel the weight, then breathe deeper. Ground your feet. Visualize yourself surrounded by stone, immovable, untouchable. These aren't tricks, they're training. They're you learning to command your inner elements. That you're not just learning skills, that you're remembering a power you always had. And that power was never loud. It was never about dominance. It was about presence. Real warriors don't walk into rooms to be seen. They walk in, and the room shifts. Because their silence speaks louder than noise ever could. Let your quiet fire burn. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need to explain your evolution to people still addicted to comfort. That you're not healing to be liked, that you're healing to become unstoppable. And that begins in the dark. Control isn't about power over others. It's about power over yourself. When everything inside you wants to break, you will be betrayed. You will be misunderstood. People you loved will forget your name. People you helped will walk away. And in those moments, those brutal, silent moments, you will hear two voices. Point one, trembling and reactive, says, break something. Scream. Prove your pain is real. The other, the one you've trained, whispers, be still. Watch. Transmute. Self-control is the mark of the unseen elite. Those who walk through storms without folding, not because they don't feel, but because they've built a fortress inside. And you're building that now, not with noise, not with bravado, but with precision. Ritual. Daily war with yourself until the enemy becomes your ally. You learn not to react to everything, because not everything deserves access to your energy. A man insults you. Let him. A friend vanishes. Let them. An opportunity disappears. Let it go. You are not chasing the world anymore. You are crafting it from within. This is where solitude becomes sacred, where silence becomes a weapon, not a violence, but a vision. You know how rare it is to sit in your own mind without panicking. Most people can't go 5 minutes without distraction because their thoughts terrify them. But you lean in, you stare into the void and shape it. This is what journaling becomes, not a diary, a battlefield. Each page, a fight between the old you and the new one rising. Write what you feel. Write what you fear. Then rewrite it into who you choose to become. Reframing isn't lying to yourself. It's cutting new grooves into the maze of your mind. You take a thought like, they abandoned me, and sharpen it into, they made space for something stronger to arrive. You take, I'm not good enough, and melt it into, I haven't unlocked that level yet, but I will. Breath control. It's not just meditation. It's emotional armoring. Inhale, calm the chaos. Exhale, silence the enemy within. Repeat until clarity emerges like dawn over a war-torn city. Discipline of the body anchors the mind. Cold showers. Early mornings. Clean fuel. No comfort addiction, not to impress anyone, but to remind yourself, I command this vessel. This flesh bends to my will. Because if you can master the small things, you can survive the collapse of the big ones. Your dignity is no longer for sale. Your time is no longer available to energy thieves. Your worth is no longer dependent on who claps for you. And then, a miracle happens. The voices that once controlled you fall silent because you don't need their permission anymore. They don't own your narrative. They don't define your identity. They don't get to decide how you feel or who you become. You've moved from emotional chaos to emotional sovereignty, from victim to architect, from performer to presence, from scattered noise to immovable signal. The real you doesn't need to prove. The real you doesn't beg to be understood. The real you is forged, not found. And that fortress within, it's not a prison. It's not isolation. It's sacred ground. Only those worthy may enter, and most won't pass the silence. Let them stay loud. Let them perform. You have a war to win. You were never meant to fit into the world. You were meant to build your own, not with blueprints written by others, not with rules passed down by the broken, but with the fire forged in your silence. You've suffered. You've outgrown. You've buried versions of yourself that once begged to be loved. And now, you rise, not as a copy, not as a reaction, but as the architect. Your thoughts are no longer chains. They're chisels. Your emotions, once chaos, now fuel. You don't just survive anymore. You shape reality. Because you finally see the truth. The outer world is a mirror, and your inner state is the sculptor. You are no longer the passenger in your life. You are the storm behind the wheel. When they ignore you, you don't shrink, you sharpen. When they test you, you don't explain, you evolve. When life denies you, you build your own door and walk through it without knocking. You've stopped begging for closure. You've stopped needing validation because you now speak a language they can't understand. Self-mastery. You learn that peace isn't found in applause. It's found in the quiet power of not needing it. You discovered that love isn't what they give you. It's what you give to the unhealed child within until it becomes the unshakable adult. You don't need chaos to feel alive anymore. You don't need pain to prove you're strong. You've graduated from survival mode. You now live in creation mode. When others look for shortcuts, you build disciplines. When others blame, you recalibrate. When others fear failure, you see feedback. You've stopped reacting. You've started commanding. Every breath you take now reaffirms this. I am not a servant to my past. I am the sovereign of my now. This is what Carl Jung meant when he said, life really begins at 40. Not because 40 is magic, but because by then, the masks are too heavy to wear. The noise loses its thrill, and the soul demands truth. But you don't have to wait for that number, because your awakening doesn't need permission. It just needs a decision. Right here. Right now. To stop blaming. To stop hoping someone will come save you. To stop waiting for the pain to go away before you start living. You don't need the storm to stop. You need to realize you are the storm. When you walk into a room now, you carry years of lessons behind your eyes. You carry calm like a sword. You carry silence like armor. You don't ask for energy. You set the frequency. You don't chase respect. You embody it. You've stepped into a truth most people run from. That no one's coming. That your mind is a forge, and every thought you shape is a spark of your destiny. This is your sacred dominion. This is your kingdom. Your mind, your body, your path. They can't program you anymore. They can't shame you into obedience. They can't distract you with crumbs of validation. You are no longer manageable. You are ungovernable, not because you rebel, but because you lead yourself. And when a person leads themselves, they become a legend to others and a threat to everything fake. Let them doubt you. Let them misunderstand. It's not your job to be visible to the blind. It's your job to build. To create. To transmute. To rise. You are not broken. You are becoming. And every scar is sacred ink in the scripture of your transformation. So listen closely now, because this is your moment to choose. Will you go back to sleep, into distraction, excuses, delay? Or will you rise and never look back? Comment below. I choose mastery. Claim your place in this brotherhood of mind. Subscribe to continue the evolution. This is not a channel. This is a sanctuary. A forge. A fortress for those who were told to sit down and shrink, but chose instead to awaken. The world cannot shape you anymore. You are the creator of your mind, the ruler of your most sacred dominion, and your real life begins now.